Good morning, MAB Elementary. This will be astronomy for the Blue Cultural Group, and we're moving on. The last lesson was on the distance of the planets from the sun, and I hope you enjoyed the video that we produced to give you a feeling as to just how far the distance in interstellar space is and in our planetary system, our solar system. So you'll have that. So what I want to do today was go into our solar system and look at some of the objects that are there in great detail. And the first one we're going to do is Mars, our nearest neighbor, a planet that's increasingly familiar to humans on Earth because we've been able to explore it so thoroughly. So you're going to be looking at some pictures that I posted behind right after this video, and I'll be referring to them right now when I give you some of the scientific facts. So I ask you to look at those pictures as soon as you can and see some of the things that Mr. T is going to tell you about right now. And what I want to do is I want to show you a comparison, because we know the Earth really well. And I want to give you some comparative information for Earth and Mars, how they're different, how they're similar. So Mars was first mapped by a telescope in 1659 by the Dutch astronomer Christian Huygens. 1659. Once you figure out how many years ago that was, we're in 2020 now. And in fact, whenever I give you dates like that, it's a good math exercise for you to figure out how many years ago these things happened in history, so you can get a sense for what's been, how much progress humans have made in that time. There's surface ice on Mars in the North Pole, and it's frozen carbon dioxide. You guys know, I think Mr. Smith has from time to time brought some dry ice into the classroom, which is frozen, solid carbon dioxide gas. And it's super cold, and that tells you just how cold it is on the Mars polar surface. And that CO2 polar ice cap is 2 miles thick. A mile is 5,280 feet, so it's 2 miles thick of dry ice on the North Pole of Mars. Excuse me. Here on Earth, we have hay fever. So let's do some comparisons. Distance from the sun. The Earth is about 93 million miles, and Mars goes from 128 million miles to 155 million miles. And here you need to look at your geometric shapes, because Mars's orbit around the sun is elliptical. So at some points it's closer to the sun, and at other points it's further away. The diameters. The Earth's diameter, remember, diameter is, if you drew a line right through the center of the sphere, all the way across, the diameter of Earth is 7,926 miles. The diameter of Mars is 4,219 miles. So in terms of diameter, Mars is about roughly half the size of Earth. The Earth rotates on its axis, it spins on its axis in how many hours? 24. And so we go from daylight to darkness and back to daylight in 24 hours. Mars, very close, 24 hours and 37 minutes. The average surface temperature on Earth, and this is the average, okay, so that's everywhere from Antarctica to the Sahara Desert. The average surface temperature on Earth is 59 degrees Fahrenheit. The average surface temperature on Mars is minus, that's below zero, 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's cold and hostile on Mars, and any humans who ever go there would have to have special equipment in order to survive. And here's another problem. Our wonderful blue planet with water, liquid water, has an atmosphere that's 77% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. And that's just perfect for humans and plants to survive and prosper. The bad news is that on Mars, the atmosphere is 95% carbon dioxide, which is poisonous, and 3% nitrogen. So any Mars visitors, human Mars visitors, will have to figure out a way to provide themselves with air that they can breathe and survive. The planet Mars was of great curiosity to the ancients because they could see it. It's distinctly red in the sky, and when it's in its orbit, it sometimes passes fairly close to the Earth. And it was named by the Greeks, who were intelligent people and thinking people and good scientists. They named it Ares, after the Greek god for war, Ares. And Mars is the Roman god for war, and the Romans, of course, followed the Greeks and used much of the Greek mythology in naming planets and dates and things like that. So I'm going to show you a picture of a great poster I have of the surface of Mars, and it was made by putting together thousands and thousands of small photographs that have been taken by our astronomers over time. And you can see on it that the northern hemisphere is lowland and the southern hemisphere is high plateaus. You can enlarge that poster and you may be able to see the spot where our first Viking lander, the first Martian lander that we've launched and landed on Mars, it was called the Viking. Sadly, it was followed by many failures because it's really not easy to land a spacecraft on Mars. It's very complicated. And that's something you guys might want to look into in your research topic, as to how we have, where we have succeeded and where we have failed in terms of landing spacecraft on Mars. You're also going to see in the pictures a beautiful photograph, an austere photograph, because it's a very hostile surface on Mars, dust and sand and rock. You'll see some photos that were taken by the Martian rover spacecraft that we have successfully put on the planet, and that have roamed around and taken pictures and done sampling of the rocks and done wonderful science. So that, through those rovers, we know a lot about the Martian surface. One of the features, I'll show you a picture of it, got a great picture of it, is the volcano on Mars. It's called the Monas volcano, Olympus Monas. The dimensions will blow your mind. It's 69,844 feet high, the elevation. That's 17 miles. Wow. And its diameter of its caldera is 300 miles. 300 miles. So that volcano is huger. It is so much larger than any of the objects we have on Earth, even Mount Everest. Some of the other pictures you're going to see, there's one with two pictures of the planet, fairly small, and it shows you how Mars can be subject, the entire planet, to huge dust storms. So when you look at those two pictures, you see one of them is a clear picture of the planet, and another one is a picture of the planet when it was completely taken over by these dust storms that whirl around at certain times of the year. And again, as I said, you'll see pictures of the Martian landscape taken by the rover Spirit. And also I gave you some pictures of Mars's moons. Those moons look, they're small. They look more like asteroids and just kind of rocks out there. But Mars does have moons, and people often forget about that. Another picture you're going to see is the planet itself, that beautiful red planet with the huge valley on it. The valley is called Valles Marineris, the Martian Valley. And again, the diameter, the statistics on it are amazing. It's 2,500 miles long. It's 4 miles deep. And you compare that to Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon is 1 mile deep. Originally, astronomers who observed the Valles Marineris thought that it was caused by erosion, which is what has caused the Grand Canyon. The Colorado River has eroded the rock over millennia of years and caused the Grand Canyon to appear. The Valles Marineris was caused by earthquakes and just opening up of the crust of Mars in this tremendous aperture that is 2,500 miles long. One of the exciting things is that the rovers have found frozen water just below the surface of Mars. It had a penetrating arm that could dig down and record the chemistry of the soil, and it found frozen water. And of course, we know that water, liquid water, is the key to life on our planet Earth. And one of the exciting discoveries of the rover was that there's frozen water on Mars that future human inhabitants might be able to use to support life. So that's a close look at our planet Mars, our nearest neighbor. I urge you to have a look at the pictures that will follow this video, and we'll see you for a new lesson next week in astronomy. This is Mr. T signing out.